Tonight, I am excited to welcome Annie Elliott, celebrating the release of her new book, My Neighbor Saw Me Naked and Other Reasons You Need Drapes, the Essential Decorating Handbook. Annie Elliott has run an interior design firm in Washington, D.C. for more than 20 years. She studied English and art history at the University of Pennsylvania and earned an MA in art history from Williams College. After a career in museum administration, Annie founded Bossy Color, which later became Annie Elliott Design. Annie's work and insights have appeared in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, and many other print and online publications. And she regularly appears on NBC4 to discuss design matters of great importance. Annie lives in D.C. with her family. Tonight, Annie will be in conversation with Jason Reynolds, the #1 New York Times bestselling author of more than 20 books for children and young adults, a 2024 MacArthur Fellow, and a client and friend of Annie's. Please join me in welcoming Annie Elliott and Jason Reynolds.
Hi, everybody. So before we get started, let me just say this. I've been fortunate to do many book events. And the strange thing about book events is that people come to book events and believe that they have to be serious. I don't know what it is about books, but they make everyone think that, for some reason, there's a strange air of sophistication that comes along with books that I'm not sure makes for a good time. And so I want you to know that Annie and I are just going to have a good time. So I hope you can relax a little bit. If you don't, I don't really care because we're just going to do our thing and have a good time regardless of the fact. I'm Jason. You know who this is. And before I get started, grilling Annie with, soul-stirring questions, we're gonna read a little bit, right? You're gonna read a little bit.
We'll read a little bit.
Let's get it out of the way, and then we'll jump into
just to set the scene, set the stage. All right. So the book is called "My Neighbor Saw Me Naked and Other Reasons You Need Drapes: The Essential Decorating Handbook." So I will just read a little from the beginning. Chapter 1: Window Treatments. Does this subject really deserve top billing? After an unfortunate incident, I must say that I believe it does. I was in our bathroom, air drying après shower, and I turned to grab my hairbrush. As I was pivoting, I glanced out the window, and my neighbor across the alley was standing at his window, just looking at me. And do you know what he did, gentle readers? He waved. Two sections here, privacy and light control. I'll just read a little. Privacy. Most of us know instinctively that in bedrooms and bathrooms, window treatments are essential unless you're equally body confident and magnanimous. We're less convinced when it comes to the more public rooms in your house. Let's say you have beautiful multi-paned windows in your family room. You may think privacy is not an issue because the room is at the back of the house, overlooking a large garden and with nary a neighbor in sight. You want an unobstructed view of that beautiful garden, and you want to let in as much light as possible. I understand how lovely to look out onto a large green expanse on a bright summer day. But when the sun goes down and the windows turn dark, your beautiful view is replaced by black holes that function as mirrors in which you and your surroundings are reflected. Don't you feel a bit exposed? While there probably isn't anyone looking in your windows, it feels as though there could be. And don't forget that many trees lose leaves in winter. Gardens we assume are private in the lush months may be less so when the seasons change. Don't take my word for it. Around 7 o'clock on a February evening, leave someone in your fully lit family room and take the dog for a walk across the back of the house. How much can you see? Everything.
We were laughing a second ago because a lot of people who saw the advertisement for this event sort of confused as to why it's me and us doing this thing together. I think people think of us as a fairly odd couple. I don't personally, but a lot of people were like, "I wonder what's Jason doing there?" And I think people don't know. They do now because I wrote it in the bio, right? That I am one of Annie's clients, right? Annie designed my house all of it, which was a great feat, a wonderful experience, very expensive. I just want you to, I should say.
Even more so because we're now doing it for the second time.
And now we're doing it again for the second time. And I guess before we get started, and I have some real questions, but I do want to talk a bit about our history. Do you remember the first time we met?
Yeah. I totally remember it. Your friend and realtor, what was her name?
Yeah,
Colette?
Q.
Yeah. She had called me and she said, I really think you need to talk to my friend Jason. And I was like, I mean, okay, I don't know you, whatever. And she was like, I'm conferencing him in right now. And I was like, okay. And so we got on the phone and we just started talking. And I was like, growing my business, building my business, and I had all these ideas like, I'm only going to decorate full houses. That's all I'm doing. Like, no compromises. And I said, well, what do you, like, what's your scope? What are you thinking? And Jason was like, I mean, I don't know, like...
Didn't have a lot of money.
No, you had no money. That's what I love. I met you so long ago. Yeah. And Jason was like, I don't know, the living room. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I'm really sorry. I don't think we're a good fit. Which is true, but I was like, I don't know. And your friend jumped in. She was like, listen.
She's very pushy like this.
She's awesome. Friend. She's so great. She was like, listen, we just have to get you two in a room together. That's what needs to happen. What's your calendar like? And I was like, I'm right. Yeah. And so my little friend Amy, who pretty much looks exactly like I do, and I drove to his house.
To the hood.
Yeah, in our little Volvo with the Vermont plates, and in our pencil skirts and
it was wild.
Yeah, pencil skirts and little heels, and we teetered up and went in. And after like 2 hours of talking, Jason looked at us and he was like, "You're my kind of people."
Yeah,
and I was like, "All right, good. That's the best compliment I've ever gotten."
It was good. I remember. Yeah, I remember it that way too. And that, it's funny. It's funny, right? Like you don't know who people are. We live in this world where we thin slice everybody, right? It's so easy to sort of cast judgment or to make sort of, snap decisions based on who people are, what they look like, what they sound like, yada, 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 right? So Annie comes in my house and I'm like, nah. I'm like,
seeing my website.
I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm just like, oh, okay, let's give it a shot. My homegirl, on the other hand, is like, no. Because at the time, for context, I was on tour, moving around. I wasn't around. My homegirl.
Star had not taken off. He was just at the beginning.
I'm like building this thing, right? And my friend is like, all right, he's gonna want to get a house. We're gonna try to find him a house soon. I'm living in this apartment. She's like, so I'm gonna make all the phone calls for him because he doesn't have time to deal with this. But I also know this guy. She's known me my whole life. He's not gonna have time. But he's so particular in his taste, right? I'm a bit of a snob. I'm really snooty about the things I like and dislike. I have a real, as you know, I have a very particular taste. I meet Annie and Amy, who's even more Annie than Annie, right? They come in the house and I'm like, okay, here we are. But by the end of the conversation, it's like sometimes you just know who people are and you can kind of read people. You can kind of look beyond whatever your prejudices are, whatever your biases are, right? That thing that we always do to protect ourselves, right? These defense mechanisms that we build up in our own minds and unfortunately attached to parts of our spirits that sometimes are helpful and sometimes become pretty poisonous. And in that particular moment, I had an opportunity. I could have lost an opportunity. I could have lost a friend if I didn't just listen and meet Annie and hang out with Annie for a little while. And at the end of that conversation, what I remember is you saying like, all right, now if we do this, you have to know, like, is wallpaper okay? This is the one thing. This is the one thing that sort of is stuck in my mind and you have to know my apartment is this bohemian apartment. It was very like,
stacks of books. I mean, you can imagine.
Young artists, baker's racks full of books, and a butcher's table right in the middle of the floor. And it actually was for who I was at that time. It was fly. Annie front like it wasn't fly, but it was fly.
It was. It was very cool.
And basically, she did the same thing in my house, except better and more sophisticated and way more expensively. My question, we were walking up here as friends do, talking trash and laughing and joking, coming from drinks, and Annie confessed to me that, and this might be a new one for all of you as well, that she doesn't like hot drinks, any hot drinks. Look at Imani, see? No hot drinks, you know what I mean? no soup, no, including soup. Because I tried to be like, what about soup? And she was like, no, not soup either. Right? So I know we're all like, wait a minute. So for all of you who are working with Annie in your homes, now's the time to fire her, right? No, and so let me ask you this. If you don't like hot drinks, and you know that hot drinks generally are something that we all, so especially this time of the year, we cherish hot drinks. What is the hot drink of furniture for you?
Oh, Jason, you could have given me a heads up on this. Meaning the thing that everyone likes, but I just can't do?
Yes.
I mean, the basic is beige and gray, but that's too easy, so I won't do that.
Especially for the DC set.
Especially for the DC set. Sorry, everyone. God, the hot drink of... this is a concept more than a thing, but the trying too hard. The looking at the Pottery Barn like command center with like the bulletin board and the basket and the, blah, blah, blah. And it's a myth, it's an illusion, it's a lovely thing. I work with a lot of families, they want that, but nobody lives that way. No one lives that way. And a lot of designers will give that to them. I could order from Pottery Barn. I could give you a matching bulletin board and waste paper basket for reasons unknown. But I'm not going to, you're better than that. You're just better than that. And everyone wants it. I don't want it. You're not going to do it. I'm saving you from yourself. I don't know if that answers
Is that
it.
like a bedroom suit? What about bedroom suits?
Oh. Yeah, no. I mean, just no. You don't want things to match too much, right?
Everyone's going to leave here so insecure.
You don't have to because I've done it, but no. But I mean, there are ways to get around things. But many of us loved our grandparents. They all had matching beds, bed frames and dressers and bedside tables, and we can just mix that up a little bit. We could paint something. We could just rotate, move one thing out, bring another thing in. You don't have to get rid of everything you love. I'm not going to come. You don't want a designer who comes in and says everything must go. I see blue. Don't do that. But when you have things that really matter to you, that's what I want. I want your house to feel like you.
So let's create a constitution. You get one sentence. Like if you were to think about what the Annie Elliott aesthetic is, like when people ask you, like, well, what's your thing, right? Like, I know wallpaper, because back then it was Bossy Color. Anybody know Annie from Bossy Color back in the Bossy Color days? A handful of y'all. So back then it was Bossy Color, and I know like wallpaper was such a was very. We're gonna do wallpaper, just so you know. So what's like at this point in your career? Everything's changed. You evolved. You've grown. I mean, you're doing your thing out here. Is there a true north, and what would that true north be?
Again, with the conceptual, which might not be so helpful, but the true north is really figuring out who your client is and what they want, not how they want to present, but what they really want and need. Do they have a fancy dining room? It's all tricked out and everything matches and what have you. Is that what they need? No, they need a game space with their kids, especially if it's 2020 and it's a pandemic. So a large part of my job a lot of my jobs are not photographable, because it's not about, when you're a super duper famous designer, people hire you for if Miles Redd, I don't know if you know who Miles Redd is. His famous line is, buy the very best and you only cry once. Like he doesn't take on any project that has any kind of a budget at all. And that's great if you all want to look like Miles Redd, But my job as a designer is to create a home that you are comfortable in, that's going to bring out your best side, that's going to make you feel confident, that's going to make you feel loving, that has a place for your kid's crap to go, a place where your dog can eat his food without being, in the middle of everything. But it has to look beautiful, obviously. Like that is what I love. That's my job. But there is a way to marry all of that. But it's not always going to be photographable, which is tragic.
What do you wish people did more? Before you answer, we live in this city that is attorneys and feds, and this is sort of what DC is / become. So like whenever you go into a new place, even when we came, remember coming into my place the first time,
Yeah.
and it was all like whoever had developed it to be gray and steel and glass, and that was it, right? All the doors were black.
Gray, dark gray.
Or dark
They were
gray,
terrible.
dark gray.
Yeah. The trim, all dark
Everything
gray.
was dark. It was a strange experience, but they were like, this is how you sell a home in this particular city, right? In DC, like I'm sure many of you have seen or maybe have, depending upon when you bought your house, the like gray floors, like even the floors are gray, right? It's like even the gray. And so what do you think, and I have a follow-up question for this, and maybe I should ask it first, but I think I want to know, like, what do you think we get wrong? Like I'm watching sort of my friends try to design their homes, big empty spaces. Where do I put a couch? Where do we, because there is a natural inclination to go with symmetry and to say like, all right, a couch goes, or to design the house that you grew up in. A house goes here, a TV goes here, right? This is the kitchen. You know, it's like, what do you think we get wrong?
Right. Well, I think one of the things people, I don't want to say get wrong, but I think one of the challenges is that we all are impatient, but you really need to have a plan. You need to know everything that's going to go on in the room before you buy anything. And so I think people try to fill up that space. They buy the biggest sofa that will fit, and it will be white, and it will be from Restoration Hardware. And and then they will want to work with that and work around that. So I think the biggest mistake is not being okay with an empty space for a while. You have to live sometimes with an empty living room. If you have a bed and you have a place to eat, okay, fantastic. Kids can do their homework on the floor. But sometimes you really need to just be in a space and see how you use your house. I mean, back to the dining room library game thing. So I think a big mistake people make is just rushing in with the big stuff. I mean, I do still have one client, and I love her, but in her weekend house, and she knows me, I've done her first house, like I don't know why, she was so impatient to furnish it that she bought all of her furniture at the Kellogg collection. Nothing wrong with that, but it's all white. It's all painted white furniture, whole house worth. And then she brought me in to do the window, and she was like, can we warm it up? And I was like, no, we cannot. Yeah, we can warm it up, throw half of this shit in the garbage, and then we'll, start again. But I mean, you have to be comfortable with not knowing sometimes right away.
That's real. There's a word that gets thrown around all the time in this city and in every city, and that word is luxury. And my question to you is, what is luxury?
Hate. I hate it. Second only to luxe and decor. I hate those words.
Can you tell us why? What is your...
Yeah. I mean, I think because I think here and probably in many cities, like people use the word luxury to imply that it's better and it's kind of fancy and it's expensive, and if you have to ask, you can't afford it. You know what I mean? Which to me is just tacky. You know what I mean? What does that even mean? To me, luxury is being able to order a pizza and not worrying about it. Like, that's luxury to me. Luxury is security, any kind of security in your situation. Do you have a home? That's kind of a luxury. You know what I mean? So not to get all like whatever about it, but I just don't like this concept of a look being like, okay, well, a certain person at 1600 in Pennsylvania, he thinks he's doing luxury. He thinks gilded crown moldings, opulence, exactly, is luxury, and I just don't like the word, and I don't like the associations. I mean, when I say luxury, like, what do you think? Do you think the fancy place you can wait in the airport, or do you think of, gilded crown molding, or?
I think of comfort.
Yeah. All right, I don't think you're everyone, Jason.
No, I think you're right. I mean, look, this is a city where we have, the greatest oxymoron ever for me is a luxury apartment.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, and that's, and it's all good, right? It's all good. Like, nothing is wrong with apartments, but I'm just saying, like, there are 100 people who live in this building, right? And so I just think it's when we would talk all the time about like I'm like, look, Annie, I need wood because of the house I grew up in, luxury was quality. It had nothing to do with, you know what I mean? It was like my mom was like, hey, look, I need the best wood for this. Or I need, this chair, I would love for it to be a good leather. And not because it was fancy, but because it would last. Like it would last, right? It could be fixed if it had broken, right? It could be polished if it had dulled. Like these sort of conversations. But I think it's interesting to talk about these words, especially in the profession that you're in, because they are words that are used to sell people on this thing, right? It's like if we can make this luxurious, and it ends up being like, fancy cabinet handles that you can get from the Hobby Lobby, you know what I mean, for $6, which is cool, but it's not. It doesn't have to be luxury.
Right. This is such a funny industry, right? Because you're always talking about your ideal client and getting your ideal client, and how much, what's their demographic, psychographic, and what's their income, and all that stuff. And you want the luxury market. It's a word that's used a lot in this industry, not just about the style, but just about the concept of who we're trying to attract. And it's so off-putting to me. It's so off. Yeah, I'm expensive. It's a luxury commodity, interior design. I'm sorry, it is what it is in a way, but we don't have to. I don't know, it just cheapens it to me, cheapens it for me somehow to kind of try to section people off in that way.
Yeah. I want to talk a bit about the book, because I know that's what we're here to promote, and to hopefully all of you will buy have you had the book? If you don't have the book, I hope when you leave here you will get the book. We are in the bookstore, in case you did not know. So
We have them right here.
I would encourage you all to put money in the bookstore's pocket. And support Annie, obviously. What made you? And I have there are some other things I want to address or talk to you about, but I want to at least touch on why this. What made you want to do this? I don't know of many interior design books like this, at least. Like there are sort of interior design books, like interior design photo books. There's tons of them that are very beautiful, lots of them.
Lots
of them. But I don't know any that have narrative in this particular way. Can you talk a bit about what made you do this?
Yeah, absolutely. And that is no accident that, I did notice there was no book like this. But I mean, this is going to sound weird, but I just want to help. You know what I mean? I want to help people love where they live. I can't walk into it. It's very annoying, to be honest, if I'm ever at a dinner party at your house and I'm like, yes, I am redecorating in my mind, and I apologize. But I want to make things better. I want you to be happier in your digs. And as I said before, I mean, even if not everyone, I can't work with everyone one-on-one. And so I wanted to spread out some of the stuff I've learned. I mean, I've been doing this 21 years now. And my friends and my clients do ask the same questions again and again, and they're good questions. How tall should that lamp be? How big should my rug be? Can I do wallpaper here? The answer is always yes, by the way. But so I really just wanted to give people some confidence. Like, there are 5,000 types of lampshades. You don't need to know that. Nobody needs to know that. You need to know two, maybe. They're in here. So it is hopefully to give people some information and encourage you to trust yourself. But I wanted to just share the knowledge. Everyone has these questions, and I wanted to answer them.
You're also like this strange phenomenon on TikTok, which is so strange for me, and also interesting and exciting that Annie is like, I don't know if y'all know this, but apparently the kids love Annie. Look at this guy's face. He's like, wait, what? I know. He's like, he's like, what are you talking about? Yes, that's how I felt too. Annie is apparently like wildly viral on TikTok. And so it's interesting to talk about luxury. It's interesting as we think about Imani, right? And sort of what Imani does. We're shouting you out because we appreciate what that is, right? And what she's doing in terms of like, yo, we can work with what we have. We can build. We can all these things to sort of make a house a home.
Right. So Imani is a very DIY focused, primarily YouTube. She's super hot on YouTube. But
it's
also
amazing.
TikTok now. Yeah, but very DIY. She will walk you through. Let's change the ceiling fan. Here's the wrench
She's
you
gonna
use.
break out the circular saw. It's a lot happening with Imani.
It's a lot of
You know what I mean?
sawdust.
It's dope, right? But
And
so,
she looks gorgeous doing it.
so
And
there's,
doesn't.
so there's that. So I bring this up to say that, like, you're also, when it comes to TikTok, the kids who are watching you can't afford. And so what you're telling them and showing them is that taste and style doesn't actually have to be. Like, that there are levels, right? And that we can start wherever we are and can still design spaces like college dorm rooms in ways that feel like ourselves. Can you talk a bit about, I don't even know how it happened. I do know, but I want you to say how it happened.
I know. It's so ass backward. Like, it was so weird that I even did this. But I knew I should be on Instagram. This is like, 4 years ago or something. I mean, things change really fast. And so it was like 4 years ago, I was plodding through Instagram. That is where my clients are. They go to your website, then they go to Instagram. All right, so I was doing that. And so I hired some people to do that, and they were lovely, lovely young women from Philadelphia. Yay, Philly. And they kept saying, you've got to do TikTok. You've got to do. I was like, are you kidding me? Never in a million years. Isn't that for tweens? No, absolutely not. And then I decided I wanted to write a book. And I was like, well, maybe I should just give it a try and, build the platform is what everyone says. And so I agreed to do it for that reason, but I thought, this actually is a great other way to help. You know what I mean? One of the things that I do in the TikTok, so the TikToks are not for my clients. In fact, I had a prospect call me and she said, oh, my daughter loves your videos. And I was like, A, you're not going to hire me. And B, I'm horrified. Like, I don't want any of my clients seeing the TikToks. They could, but I don't want them to. But one of the things I do is go into like an IKEA or a Home Goods. And I say, this thing is okay. Look, this is well made. This finish looks pretty good. It's a good size. This would be okay to have in your house. And then I'll go over to like some crappy sideboard and I'll be like, look how this doesn't even close properly. This hinge is off. I don't want you spending 2 cents of your hard-earned money on this. So that it became really popular. It was crazy, but I'm certain that helped me get the agent, get the book, whatever. And it is fun on the rare occasion when I'm like out somewhere and someone's like, do you do video? Oh my God, my favorite, this is just a little story, but I was in Soho in a Brandy Melville. I'm not sure if you all are familiar with Brandy Melville.
I've seen that documentary. Wild.
Oh
Anyway.
God, cannot recommend. However, I was standing in line with my daughters and this kid, literally kid, like coolest kid behind me, earphones on, a guy. He's like, hey, do you do videos? And I was like, yeah. And he said, do you like interior design? And I said, yeah. And he said, I follow you. And I said, thank you so much. That's so nice. And then he said, I send your videos to my mom.
Exactly.
And I was like, thank you. It was awesome.
He also keeps them for himself. It's okay, buddy. Do you think that what are the psychological ramifications of home decor? I think that everything has something to do with our exterior and our interior. I think there's nothing that we do that doesn't affect our interior lives, right? And so, for instance, my aesthetic in my home, and we've talked about this, I said I want it to feel, it's just me who lives there. It's a big house with just me. And people often come over, and I always said this, I want it to feel like a woman lives here because I grew up with my mom. And so I wanted my house to feel what I associate with feminine, right? I want the colors to be a certain thing. I want I want it to feel vibrant. I don't want the Jordan poster on my wall. I don't want, right? Like, I'm not
No
interested.
black.
That's
No
just no
black.
black. I won't allow, and people who know me know I only wear black clothes, but I don't have any black in my home. I won't allow any black in my home, right? None. There's nothing painted black. There's
black leather,
there's nothing black in my house. And so, except for black people. To be clear. But I think about what psychologically what that is for me. Why do I need my house? To me, I associate comfort with womanness, with femininity, to my mom, right? And to what that house felt like, to the way it smelled, to the way the couch cushions were. Like the detail that my mother put into our home growing up is what I associate with safety. And so can you talk a bit about, does that register for you, or even why you do these things? Have you thought these things over? Like, what is this? What are we doing? Why does it matter that we take care when putting together the places in which we dwell?
Right. You're actually reminding me that I need to go this deeper with my clients, because sometimes we're on the cusp of that because we're talking about objects. So a client will say, oh, but I love this piece of furniture because it was my grandmother's and she loved it and we went over there on Sunday nights and blah, blah, blah. So we go that far, but you're right. Like, I have to go the next level down. It is hard to get people to kind of admit what they really want. You know, many of my clients are families. You know, you're kind of an outlier. And so many of my clients are families. And so they're thinking, and not all moms, a lot of my clients, the dads take the lead, but they are thinking about the whole. They are thinking about others and others' comfort. And I'm not saying you should be a selfish decorating person, but I think you do need to know what like soothes your soul, like what you respond to, not just in a, oh, I love that sideboard kind of way, but in a, yeah, I need that leather you can sink into. Yeah, I don't like black. Yeah, you know, I don't even like dark colors that much. I want this to be happy and bright. And, you know, I mean, I guess I do get there with a lot of my clients, and I don't know if this is I work a little in other places, but I work primarily in DC, and I don't know how much of this is DC, but people do care about how it reads, how it looks. We're not show-offy here. I wish we'd be a little more show-offy, to be honest. But it's more like, what will the parents of my kids' friends think? You know, there is a little bit of reluctance to name and own what you really, really want. And so you're reminding me that I just need to dig that. They're ready. They want me to ask those questions, you know?
You walk into an empty room. You've got $5,000, right? But the room is empty. One object. You can only buy one object. What do you buy?
Oh, God. Well, paint's cheap, so does that count? That cannot count as the object. That's a thing, right? Okay,
that's an asterisk.
That's a coating.
Yeah,
Right,
okay.
right. So we're going to paint. That's going to make a big difference.
Okay.
A rug. I'm going to say a rug. I'm just always going to say the rug.
So you're going to start with a rug.
Yeah, and then you're going to have nothing to sit on, I know.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
Why?
Because it grounds the whole room. I mean, literally and figuratively, right? It grounds things. It can give you, it sets the tone. I mean, if it's a fluffy Moroccan rug with a, graphic diamond pattern on it, I mean, that says something. You're going to work with that in one direction. Maybe you will choose one direction. An antique or vintage rug, my favorite, lots of colors, lots of pattern. A dog can live there. Kids can live there. Play-Doh can be spilled. Wine can be spilled. Those are, Teflon. That gives you a good grounding to go in several different directions. I just think a rug, first of all, it's a lot of visual real estate. I mean, the floor is a lot of space, right? So you got to get that right. And then that can lead you. That can really be the jumping off point for other things,
That's a good answer. So we're at the floor. What is the theory and obsession with wallpaper?
Mine, you mean? Mine
Yours. And I have to say before you answer, I bought that house in 17. You and I met in 16. And for some reason in my mind, and it could be because I was disconnected from the interior design world, in my mind, wallpaper was very much so passé, right? And and specifically in 2016. Now, this could be wrong, but that's why it sounded so strange to me when Annie's like, before you say yes to me, are we doing wallpaper? Just say no. And I'm like, okay, like whatever, like all right. But in my mind, I'm like, oh, wallpaper, like, what, this is gonna be ridiculous. and it ended up not. And of course, I give Annie, we pretty much, I'm like, hey, do what you need to do. I'm either going to say yes or no, but like we can go balls out, right? Let's see what I'm interested. What is that? What is the wallpaper thing?
There are a lot of reasons. First of all, in your case, you said you love your granny.
I do. I did love shout out to my granny. I do, of course.
Yeah, exactly. So,
But I don't want to live in no house that remind me of my grandmother.
Well,
Like, it ain't like I really want, you know what I'm saying?
I know, but you're not but in terms of giving that cozy, secure, nostalgic,
sure.
we found some of that for you. But in terms of my just like unbridled enthusiasm for, I'm going to be really honest. A lot of us don't have art. A lot of people don't have art. And something's got to be on your walls. Now, Jason does. I don't know if you know this. He's a really brilliant collector, actually. Well, I know that's a problem, but we're working on it. But it's not a problem. We just need to rotate. Anyway, but a big blank wall is a big blank wall, and it's a bummer. And I don't want to. Buying art is hard, and it's scary, and it's personal, and I will help you with that. But if you would like. But there is a real, I don't want you to buy art you don't like, but let's get something on your walls and really create this feeling. It is cozy. It is enveloping. I mean, to me, it's just very interesting. I really hate the articles that are like, wallpaper's back. And I'm like, it never left,
I mean, it left a little bit. It just didn't leave you.
No, you know what left is wallpapering every single room, like the house I grew up in. Waverly, a stripe that's still Waverly, but then more Waverly, But we do less of it, more strategically.
Mine is pretty bold.
I know, and we're going to do more. I'm so excited. We're going to do more. You know it. You've already approved it.
My house? It's all over the place. Annie got wallpaper in my house. So when you walk in the door, wallpaper that leads up the steps. Then you come into the living room, no wallpaper there.
But that's where we're doing it. And that's where I'm so excited.
She's about to wallpaper my entire living room.
Right, exactly.
Even the whole thing.
Yeah, the whole thing. And you know what's awesome?
I don't know how I feel, but I'm gonna let her do her thing, right? I'm just sort of like, all right, this is
but you know why this is going to work? Because Jason does have a lot of art, and it's good art. I mean, it's really like good stuff and interesting and thoughtful and what have you. But he wanted the space to be cozier.
Yes.
You wanted it to be cozier. And it's been renovated in a fairly modern way. We don't got crown molding.
Right.
You know
how they do.
There's a metal railing and banister there. So we have to soften it up. And so we are choosing, you have chosen. We have chosen. It's a William Morris wallpaper. It's two-tone. It's like a gold on lighter gold. Gold on lighter gold. But it's a pattern, and it's kind of small. So from far away, if you squint, it's kind of, you don't see the pattern. But it's not distracting in and of itself. But it can be a backdrop. It can be a backdrop. And it is just going to envelop the whole. I'm so excited about it. It's going to be so good.
I'll let you all know what I think about it next book. And then downstairs she has grass cloth in my bedroom, so it feels like
that's coming out though. We don't like that.
That's what it is right now.
Yeah,
it's grass cloth. It feels
right.
like a cavern. And then upstairs she has cork that feels like the living. That upstairs lounge area feels like outside almost, like stone almost. And then upstairs, all the way up, she has like some lavender pattern. It's all over the place. I know, but it honestly, I'm joking around, but it's beautiful.
But the combination of the wallpaper and the art, that is what makes it so special, because it is so personal. Like, it cannot get more personal. Nobody else can have your house.
That's true. I do feel like there's a singular, like there's a thumbprint. Like my house is it's my thumbprint and only my thumbprint, which is nice at a time in which everything feels so templated, right? And so it feels nice to walk into my home and be like, man, I ain't been in nobody's house like this week or this month or this year.
Exactly.
And when I go in someone who has an individual style, it feels so good. It's like, oh, wow, this is great to be in someone who has a point of view, right? Whether I like it or not, I just like the fact that you have a point of view. Isn't that lovely to be in a world where people actually have things to think about and they had their own style choices, and so I'm grateful for it now. Now I talk about wallpaper all the time to other people. I'm like, man, just put some wallpaper up on it. They got all kinds.
Evangelist.
Exactly. I'm definitely an evangelist. All right, last question before we open it up to you. Can you please, this is a customer service gig, and so I just got to be a little bit messy. Can you just tell us, is there one good story? Because you're dealing with characters, right? I mean, dealing with me is a handful, but not because of my attitude, but because of my particularities, right? But you're dealing with people who have money to spend, and these are always terrible people, right? We know this. They're always tricky people, right?
No comment.
Yeah, exactly. People who got a couple extra dollars. Can you just give us one good story about just one nut job?
Yeah. And it's not super interesting, unfortunately, so I can try
I'll punch
to...
it up. Don't worry.
But really early on, I met with this couple, and what really stuck it to me was it was way far away, some town called Darnestown, or some place far away. I don't even know what time it was there. It was so far away. But I drove there, and it was a husband and wife, and I think it was their first house. Husband and wife wanted to be very equally involved. That's awesome. I like forever, because it is money, and I want everyone to be happy with the decisions. You would have thought they were from different planets. I mean, the husband literally wanted a museum, Victorian red velvet tufted furniture, velvet dress. I'm not kidding. He wanted this one look that it was Victorian. It was a Victorian museum. I think I made a joke about a red velvet thing. It did not land, I have to say. And the wife wanted this friendly, informal country French, light as air, bright, sunny thing. And they were right there when each of them was saying it and looked at me expectantly so? And I was and I don't remember how I got out of not doing it, but I didn't do it. We didn't go forward. And years later, there was this open house in our neighborhood. I don't usually go to open houses, but I went, and this guy looked kind of familiar, and I was like, how do I know that guy? Then I was like, oh my gosh, that's the guy. And I found myself looking at his hand to see if he was still married. He was, but we don't know that it was to the same person.
I thought you were going to say something and then years later, he became Matthew McConaughey. Or something wild, something
But can I tell you about the best, one of the best examples? I did this not huge, but apartment in New York. And my friend, the aforementioned Amy, and I really worked hard on this. 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. I mean, it was not huge, but it's New York. They're Broadway producers. They wanted it was pied-à-terre, it's their 4th house. But they wanted it to be really special and I do hate this phrase, but jewel box-y. I really hate that phrase, so overused. But they wanted it to be really special. And so we had so much fun coming up with this plan, and it included the wall around the fireplace. It was nothing was symmetrical. There was too much marble. It was so odd. The whole thing was odd. So one of the things that was going to smooth it out was this place that required peacock feather wall covering. And it was real, and peacocks are mean, and they were naturally acquired, so it's all fine. But it was that I was like, this is the only option. I'm sorry, this is the only thing we can do. It's the only option. There's nothing else we can do. This is it. It all hinges on this. You have to do it. And they did it. And they're like, where's our checkbook? And I was like, yeah. And you know what? That was really cost effective for them, because they weren't going back and forth with me. They trusted us. We got it done. It was such a dream, and they absolutely love it. So it was a great experience.
His name was Matthew McConaughey. All right, we'll open it up for some questions now. Put your hands in the air, and they'll come to you with the microphone.
Yes. Who's that gorgeous lady?
Oh my God, stop. I'm a blonde.
Aforementioned Imani. Check her out.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, good. How are you, gorgeous?
Okay, I'm great. So I have a question about working with a client directly. How do you know the difference between when you are suggesting something to them that you know that they will like, but they may need like a little bit of a push on it because you know it will be perfect, and bullying your clients. Like, how do you balance that? Because you know it's going to work with the design, but they may be like feeling a little apprehensive about it.
Right. That's actually a really good thing for designers to consider, because I think especially with the people you hire for their look, they're going to bully you because they're going to do it their way. I'm a human being and I'm a person, so I do have a tactic. I have a tactic, and that is to give them some stuff that isn't perfect that I don't want. I'm like, well, we could do this would be great. We could do it this way. Or, well, I wasn't even going to bring this. I mean, do you want to see? I mean, I don't think you're going to. I mean, literally, it's that manipulative. But then I will bring the thing out, and I swear to God, 9 times out of 10, they're like, that's it. And so it's a process of having to, notice I didn't say journey, because that is, just stop using that word. But it is a process of having them consider different things. And if you're good at your job, you can kind of bring them around to what you know is the best solution for them in the physical space, for what they want out of their lives, what their personality is, and all of that. So trickery and persistence.
She always has these options. I know whenever she comes to my house, she has like this binder. And in this binder, well, now they're using iPads. It's weird. But they used to have a binder, and she would open it up, and basically every single thing that we're gonna do whenever she's working in my house, it's like, all right, here's what I want to do, but this is option 1. Here's 2 and 3 though. Here's some other options that maybe, and sometimes I'm like, I actually really like option 2, and in those moments, I think there's also some like reconciliation with like, this will work, right? This is the best option, but this might be your best option. And it still will work, right? And so I never feel bullied. I can feel her nudging, though. I can feel her nudging, right? And be like, oh, what about this? I really think, and sometimes she's earned my trust. So a lot of times it's like, all right, Annie, like, I'm gonna go with you on this. If I don't like it, I don't like it, right? And we're gonna change, but I'm gonna go with you on this. And then other times I just go ahead and stick to it. Like, yo, you gave me option 2 and 3. I want option 2. This is what I like. I like option 2. And then we can kind of work around those things.
And part of the reason I'll do that with you is that I know you, and I'm comfortable giving you other options. For most new clients, though, I give them one scenario. I say, this is my very best solution for you. Sit with it. Think about it. Think about that, and then we can talk about alternatives if you need them. But it's too much to ask somebody like, well, if A, then B, then C, then D. But we know you well enough to be able to say, okay, A, B, or C would work here, and we don't, he could go either way.
Yeah. Anybody else? Questions? It's on you.
So tell a story. What's one of the strangest requests that you've gotten from a client?
I mean, the one with the museum versus the French country was kind of weird. There was this one guy. Again, this was really early on, and I thought, gosh, I am going to these strange people's houses all by myself. Nobody knows where I am. I feel like I should leave a little note on my desk. If I don't return, $12.75. But he would say, oh, I really love that. This is not strange. It might not be as fun and interesting, but he would say, I love this table. It's so industrial. I love this sofa, though. It's so mid-century modern. And then this is kind of, I don't know, Baroque, right? And I'm like, dude, this is so, okay, yeah, each of those statements is correct, but we got to bring them all together. Not very interesting, I'm sorry. My brain will work on it, but that is a tough situation, and so little awareness. I was like, you really need me, actually. So. Oh God. No, we can. I have a client. And I love her so much. We've gotten to a point, and she's moving into a gigantic house. I mean, like a gigantic house. And we've done a lot. We bought a lot. We've done some wallpaper, not as much as I would like, actually, but we've done some wallpaper and all this stuff. And then it's been 2 years. And then, like, about 9 months ago, she started saying, okay, well, what about the this I already have? And I was like, what this you already have? And she said, the coffee table made of license plates. And I'm like, what about the coffee table made of license plates? And she just started wanting to incorporate her things into the project. And it wasn't about, we had spent a lot of money. We had created very beautiful design plans for each room that held together and were great. And then all of a sudden, she's like, well, I have all this stuff and I really want to use it. And you know what? She's the client. It makes her happy. We're doing the best we can. Like, yeah, this will fit and it won't look bad. We say no sometimes, but it is her house. It is about making her happy, and we will not be photographing
I
it.
just can't believe. I just can't wait for like 10 years to go by and you realize that she's just been paying for your friendship for all these years. It's like you live here, Annie. You didn't even know it.
I do love her, though. I love her.
Any other questions? Is the microphone? Somebody has it.
Hello.
Hi.
Question for you. I was wondering if you have a general kind of point of view. Like there's these two aesthetics, broad category of kind of more cluttery, lots of pictures, lots of tchotchkes, lots of stuff. Feels cozy, can be tidy if you tidy up, but it's kind of,
Maximalist, academia.
Yeah, sort of like the gift
right?
store at Cracker Barrel, but various flavors of it, right?
A lot of stuff.
And then there's the sort of IKEA, super minimalist, everything's white, there's not a picture anywhere. Just talk about those two extremes and do you have a point of view on them? And
Oh God, I mean I do, but I have a point of view, but hopefully not a judgment. But of course, I'm hugely judgmental, so of course I have a judgment. But you live how you want to live. I align a little more with Jason in that I like to be surrounded. I'm not a maximalist. I mean, maximalists will put wallpaper on the wall, a pattern on the sofa, a pattern on the rug, another pattern on the sofa. There is very little that isn't patterned. I don't do that. I need a little bit of breathing room between items. But I do like coziness. I like warmth. I like grand spaces that you can make feel informal. You know what I mean? I'm thinking about my own house. The ceilings are tall. So that's great. It might appear grand, but then a couple things, they don't match. I want you to be able to sit down and have a conversation and say, oh, this is really fun. So my taste runs more toward let's do a little more. Not more is more, but more is something, the when you have a very Spartan aesthetic and very minimalist, every single thing must be perfect. Every single thing. If you want to pull it off, if you don't want to look like IKEA. So your rug better be good, this better be vintage, the art better be good, the white better be the right white. It's harder. It's harder. And decorating in neutrals, by the way, hard. That's difficult. And so, so those are my approaches. But you can be happy in either setting. You can be. I cannot be. But you can. There's a gentleman back here who had a question. Hi.
You mentioned earlier we were talking about people having a difficult time decorating and designing their own spaces. And I think part of the reason why that is because we don't really feel space anymore in the world. We register aesthetic with our eyes, and then we try to superimpose that aesthetic on the walls, but we're not really moved by space anymore. My question for you, what was the last space that moved you?
The last space that moved me?
Yeah, to joy, to tears, to grief, to whatever.
Good question.
Boy, I never have okay, this is so lame. Y'all are going to lose all respect for me. But, I mean, Whistler's Peacock Room at the Smithsonian is a thing. And it's amazing to me because I think of the people in it. There's a story about, I don't know if you guys know it, but it's pretty grand. But that's not my answer. My answer actually is in these historic houses that maybe aren't so impressive design-wise, but I just cannot help but think of the people who live there. So one of my very first jobs, I worked in museums for many years before transitioning to interior design. And my first big job was in this house museum and rare books library in Philadelphia. And my office was on the 4th floor in like the maid's quarters. And then I moved to the 3rd floor, so it was bigger. But I loved the feeling that people lived there. Like, is this where the desk was? What did they do here? Who was this? Well, we knew who it was, but you know what I mean? Like, just being surrounded by like the spirits and the whole environment and atmosphere, I feel so honored when I'm in a place that has been inhabited by other people. So that is what moves me.
It's a good answer. Anybody else? Anybody else? We've got a few up here.
Hi. First of all, I want to say that the reason that I came was because in my search on the internet for cafe curtains and how to use them, because of course, you know, the usual use is only in kitchens and dining rooms. And I saw your picture in a living room. I was like, yay, somebody's looking at some other way to do this. Right, and that, you know, you want, because I want the sun, but I don't want the vision. And so trying to figure that out, I'm sort of in a semi-attached house, and, you know, so working that out. But yeah, I think this argument around maximalism and Spartanism, whatever, is kind of interesting. I find Spartan homes to be cold, and they look like they're showrooms. I mean, nobody actually lives there. But it's one of the difficulties is, again, trying to find where to put the stuff that you have that's important to you. And I like older homes because they are interesting to me. So I was just wondering, you know, what were some of your thoughts about where to put stuff? I mean, I have cabinets, I have big things in which to hide stuff. That was my question.
So in terms of like displaying, you all could hear that, I hope, displaying how to incorporate stuff. I think it's really important to group things and to have some bare surfaces. I think things look very cluttered when every surface has stuff on it. So I like a bookcase that has some books, and then you got a section with some objects, then you got a space with some books, and then maybe a photograph. I don't like to overdo it. But most of us have objects that are too small, or not too small, but small. And you can't put a tiny thing on your mantle. It doesn't work. So group things. So if you put a bunch of stuff together, it acts as a single thing. So and then also you can call it a collection. If you have 3 of anything, it's a collection. So, you know, in terms of display, surfaces are good, bookcases are good, but you don't have to have a decorative object on every surface. And if they're small, bunch them together. Does that help? I know, and you may have to get rid of some stuff. Seriously, I mean, this is a hard part of my job. Yeah, the downsizing is hard, and I've paid professionals who can deal with that aspect, you know. But
I just started putting all my stuff in picture frames and just putting them joints on the walls. You know what I mean? Until you run out of wall space, and then back to square one.
Then we rehang.
Consumerism at its finest. Anybody else?
Hi. Decorating a home is very personal, and Jason touched upon safety and comfort in a home. How do you reconcile a space that is traumatic or that you don't want to go into, and you kind of avoid that corner of your space because it's harboring this memory or this feeling that doesn't feel good. So you don't design it, you don't visit there. And you don't want it to be logic, you know, you don't want to follow the rules too much because everything else is so warm and comforting. But that one corner is just like, how do you approach a space like that?
Wow, that's a question. That's a really poignant question. So, I mean, you have to reconcile yourself some way, right? If it is going to be traumatic, no matter what color it is, no matter what's in, if it's going to be traumatic for you, I don't want you there. I don't want you there. So you have to tell me that you're ready to maybe incorporate this space back into your home, okay? So that has to come to you. And then we gotta rip off the curtains and shed light on it. We gotta just flood that thing with sunlight. Think about how you're gonna use that space. What are you gonna do in this whole room? What do you wanna do with it? Do you wanna do puzzles? Do you wanna read? Do you wanna write a novel? Do you wanna watch TV? What do you wanna do in this whole space? And we're gonna decorate the whole space for you today, now, according to what you wanna do there now. And we can maybe remember what came before, but we're living for now.
Can I offer what you've offered me? So in parts of our process over the years, there's been times, because I'm paying, right? So there are moments where like money's up, we can do it all. Money's low, it's like, yeah, I don't know, man. I know we got all these plans. I'm gonna need to push pause for a second. And even though this isn't the same because these spaces aren't necessarily traumatic for me, what Annie has been able to do is say, hey, look, man, we could just do this wallpaper. We don't have to do all of this right now, right? We could just do this wallpaper, and then we'll like revisit in a little bit. Or we could just let me just put this shelf right here. We don't have to do all of this. We could do the shelf. The shelf will live here. We'll take care of some other stuff over here, and then I'll circle back in 6 months, and then maybe we can do, we can do the painting, or we can do whatever it is. You see what I mean? And for me, I would imagine in a space that is traumatizing, that it might actually be better to bite size
To be incremental.
To be incremental.
You're so right.
To be incremental, right? A little bit, and then you can kind of like deal with the discomfort of the newness of it, settle into the fact that it is different now, and then add something then add another piece to it, and now it's a little more different, right? And then eventually it will be a new space, perhaps. That which is the goal.
I'm so all or nothing. That is really, really good advice. That's really good to keep in mind.
Before we go, I want to ask you one more question. Our last question, which I've asked many, many people, a lot of our literary heroes, friends, and luminaries, the same question. So I'm going to ask you, if you could go back to your 10-year-old self. 10-year-old Annie.
Really bad haircut.
Well, maybe that's part of the answer, right? What would you thank 10-year-old Annie for?
What would I thank her for?
What would you thank her for?
I mean, I guess I would thank her for being able to pretend not to care when someone doesn't like you. You know what I mean? I'm not all for pretending, but sometimes you just got to get through stuff. And I think, we all have had our fish out of water chapters, right? But I think at 10 years old, right, just about to go into middle school probably, I was so out of water where I was. I was so not in context in this small town in upstate New York. And I could put on a brave face. I don't want to do it every day. I really don't. But it's a skill. And I think when you have to dust it off and bring it out. So thanks, 10-year-old Annie, but get your haircut better.
Listen, everybody, please buy the book, support Annie, work on your homes.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
Thanks, buddy.